So the 2026 Higher Maths, Paper 1. It's certainly a little bit trickier than it's been in the past few years. I imagine there's a few unhappy bunnies at the end of this, especially if you've been looking at the previous few years' papers. Some of the questions were straightforward, but there was a lot of ones that were certainly more intricate and more demanding. Well, let's have a look at them, see what they were like. So let's just complete the square. That's actually quite an easy one, isn't it? Look, you haven't got a negative x squared term and there are no fractions in it. So it's just a case of take that 2 out to see you've only got an x squared, and then there you go. So take that 2 out, so you're just left with an x squared. Half that, but don't bother with the 3 because that doesn't work. So that means you can form your little squared bracket. It must be an x, half of it. That gives you that 25 back. So there's been 50 added. Take the 50 off, there it is. So that wasn't too bad then. So an integration, but at least there's no limits, you don't have to work anything out here. Okay, you've got fractions there in the indices, but essentially it's just add 1 to the power, divide by the power, and that should be it. Should be straightforward. Right, so index form, get them into a suitable form, that was fine, put that up on top, power -2, then just add 1 to the power, that means adding 3 on though. So it goes up to 5 upon 3, divide by that 5 upon 3, up to -1, divide by the -1, don't forget the plus c. So that simplifies to 9, and that's -7, either over x or leave it as x the -1. So that's a fairly standard one, that wasn't too tricky either. And what's here? That old chestnut makes a reappearance. Equation of a tangent to a given point in a circle. You haven't seen that in a while, so that might have thrown some of you. But it's fairly straightforward because it is just get the equation of a line. That expanded form, pick out the centre from those two terms. Negative of half of them, that's it. So you know the centre, 1, 2. The tangents at right angles to the radius. Get the gradient of that radius CA, difference in the y's, difference in the x's. Tidy it up. That means the gradient of that one will be the negative of the reciprocal. There we go, so far so good. Now pop it into y minus b. So y minus the y coordinate is the gradient times x minus the x coordinate. Bring the 4 across, leave the negative with the 3, multiply it out, but put the two numbers together. So -3x plus 30, done. That was okay. So the trig formula question then, addition formula. It might look a wee bit more confusing than usual just because of the way those triangles are drawn together, but it's still just two right-angled triangles. A bit of Pythagoras, and then as long as you can identify sine and cosine, the rest of it's just straightforward. Put them into the formulas that you could just find from the front. So sine of q, it's just staring you in the face. Opposite over hypotenuse. Next bit is going to be the sine of p plus q. Well, you might as well finish off that triangle. You've got a 5, 3, 4, 5, and a 5, 12, 13. You've got all the information you need to get all the sines and cosines. So list them out. Sines are the opposites, and the cosines are the adjacents. Then, either remember that or copy it down from the front, and then just transfer the 4 of those over, the sine of p and the cos of q, and then they switch over the cos of p and the sine of q. You've got a common denominator there of 65. There's a 20, there's a 36, so 56 over 65. That's the first bit. Now the second one, the cosine of the same angle p plus q. There's a few ways of doing that, but you could just go for the formulas at the front because you've got all 4 of those bits and pieces. So you just copy them down again into the correct places. Cos times cos, sine times sine. Over 65 again, and you've got a 15, but take away a 48, so there's a negative. You've got a -33 here. No surprise, because that's an obtuse angle and the cosine is negative. Right, so for part C, what have we got? You've got, what's the tangent? What's the tangent of the same angle? Sine over cosine. So just divide those two fractions. And if you're going to be dividing the fractions, just do it as multiply by the reciprocal. The 65s will cancel out, and you'll have -56 upon 33 for the result. So functions of functions. The functions themselves are fairly straightforward, so this is probably just quite a standard question. Maybe just that part about the range if you've forgotten what range meant. So f of g of x, we'll just pop g of x inside, let it act on it. Do what it does. 2 times the square of it, and then add on 5. You could use that pattern for the square of a bracket, square the first, square the last, twice the product, and then multiply it out. So there you've got an 18, and then the 5 makes a 23. Now, you probably didn't need to go as far as that. They probably got the mark when you just left it, because it just said add an expression. G of f of x, pop f inside. What is it? Oh, it just adds on 3, doesn't it? So not a lot to that then, is there? 2x squared plus 8. Easy marks there. Now, what's this part here about the range then? It says, what's the range? That means the various answers you can get. Can you get any possible answer? No. If you think of the graph of that, that's a parabola that's been shifted up 8. The lowest answer you can get is 8. So all the answers you would get would start at 8 and go upwards. So greater than or equal to 8. Or you could think the lowest you could get for x squared is 0. So the lowest answer is 8. And all the real numbers after that. Three-dimensional figure, three-dimensional vectors, but no calculations. There's no components, there's no lengths to work out. It's just pathways. Find your way from one point to another, sticking to the edges. You should know what to do with this one here. Right, so m cuts that in half, and n divides the ratio of 1 to 2. Right, you want mn. Right, well, go from m to n, go from m to h to e, and e to n. Just write that down. M to h to e, and then e to n. Now, m to h is half of that line. That's half of u, but going the wrong way, so negative a half of u. H to e is all of v, but going the wrong way, so negative v. That's 1. There's 3 bits altogether. That's 1/3 of the way, and it is the right way for w, and that's it. So, tangent to a curve, again, that would be a standard question, but you don't have to go the whole way here. You're not having to work out y-coordinates or equations. It just says, find the gradient where x is 9. So let's just differentiate it and put in 9. So apart from the root x, again, this should be a straightforward question. Right, so differentiate it. We'll first get it in a suitable form. Get that root into power a half. Now differentiate it. So that's just a 2 for that part. Multiply by the power, take 1 off the power, goes negative though. Now, the gradient is equal to the derivative, so if you want to know the gradient when x is 9, you just pop 9 into it. 2 times 9 to the power negative a half. And of course, negative a half means it's underneath in the square root, so it's 2 2/3. Make them all into thirds. 6 and 2s, 8/3. That's it. The logarithms, always guaranteed to cause a little bit of anxiety. It is, however, again, a standard question, just using the law of logs to combine them into a single log and then removing it by using the inverse or remembering that it just means what power have you got. So first of all, adding logs, well, that means you multiply what they're acting on. So multiply those two together. I'm just leaving the 3 alone. Now, that 2 can go across as 2 to the power. You can just think, this says, what power of 2 is that? Well, it's 2 to the power 3. So multiplying it out, because you're going to end up with a quadratic, just bring it all over to one side equal to 0. Factorise it. Must be x times x, 2 times 4. The positive must go with the larger. So you get 2 solutions, 2 or negative 4. Now, it said x is greater than 0, so x equals 2 is the only solution here. Right, collinear points in 3 dimensions, that obviously means, first of all, quite a bit of calculation as well as making appropriate statements. You have to be careful with this question. And the second part, where you've got this division of a line in a ratio, that's where it can get tricky for some. So not quite straightforward, this question then, a wee bit more demanding. Right, vectors. Find DE and find, say, DF. So DE is E minus D, subtract their position vectors. Just careful with the arithmetic. That tells you the move to go from D to E. Do the same with DF. Subtract their position vectors. That'll tell you the move it takes to go from D to F, which you could have written down just by inspection. Now, if one is a multiple of the other, that means that those vectors are parallel, and if you divide corresponding components, they all come to 2/3. So DE is 2/3 of DF, and since it's a multiple, that means it's parallel to DF, but they could still be separate. But since they've got a common point D, which joins them together, that means that D, E and F are collinear. So the first part was a sort of standard routine that you go through. Get those two vectors and show one's a multiple of the other. Now part B, that's where it says, here's that line DF again, but you extend it to G so that F cuts it in the ratio of 3 to 4. Well, to find G, you're going to use pathways. Start at F because you know how to get there, and go from F to G. Because you know F, and F to G is bigger than D to F. It's 4 upon 3 times it. So put those numbers in. So put in the components for F, and 4/3 of, you've already worked that one out. Well, I did the way I did it. And then just be careful with arithmetic. Divide by 3, multiply by 4 for each of them, add them up. Now that's the components of the position vector. So to get G itself, just turn it on its side. Now question 10, you can expect to get an integration of a trigonometrical function, but here you've actually got to do an evaluation as well. So it's just a bit trickier than usual, this one, and it's in radians, of course. So integrate it, leave the 6, sine would have come from cos, but it would have given a negative, and now in the bracket you've got a 3 times the x, you'll need to divide by that 3. And then don't do plus c, you've got an evaluation to do. Pi upon 6 to pi upon 3. Now that negative 2 is going to be a common factor, I'm just going to take it out. So that just leaves you with the cos of, now 3 times pi upon 3 is just going to be a pi. Take away that. And then the cosine of 3 times that is going to be pi upon 2. Take away a pi upon 2. So that gives you a pi upon 2, and that gives you a 0. A wee sketch just to remind you, at pi upon 2, the answer is 0, and at 0, the answer is 1. So that just comes to a 2. So number 11's got the synthetic division then, because there's that cubic that you've got to factorise, except it's not as straightforward as other ones, because you like to factorise it all the way, because it says this remains hanging, and you've got to explain why you can't factorise it all the way. And then if that wasn't enough, there's a second part to the question which isn't always there, so that just makes this question a little more exacting, because now you've got to solve these equations, which has obviously got something to do with part A. Well, x plus 2 is a factor means negative 2 should give an answer of 0. So test that with the synthetic division. Add down and multiply up. Down, multiply up. Add down, multiply up. And hopefully you add up to get a 0. So just make your statements now. So you can either say the remainder is 0, or you could say negative 2 is a root, which means that x plus 2 is a factor. Now that was part 1. There was a part 2. Now part 2 says show that it's the only linear factor, so there must be something wrong with that other factor, with that x squared plus 5x plus 8. It must be that you can't factorise it. You can always test that. Get the discriminant. B squared minus 4ac, 25 minus 32. Now that's a negative. It's negative 7. Negative 7 is less than 0, which means there's no real roots. And if there's no real roots, then it won't factorise. And if it won't factorise, then there's no linear factors. Then for part B. Now in part B, you're given two equations. So obviously it's got something to do with part A. You're given the equations of two curves and you have to find their point of intersection. One of the curves is a cubic, so that's cubic expression there. The second one's a quadratic. And then since you have to find a point of intersection, then you have to solve simultaneous equations. If you just give them names, 1 should equal 2. The y-coordinate should be the same. So put 1 on one side and 2 on the other, and then put them all over to make them equal to 0. So that way you can factorise it, hopefully. So putting corresponding terms together, you end up with this cubic, which looks surprisingly like, if you take out that common factor of 2, the equation you had to begin with, which means, of course, you don't have to factorise it. You already know the answer. You've got x plus 2 for the only linear factor, and that irreducible quadratic, which is no use to you, which means the only solution is going to be that x is negative 2. But you have to find the y-coordinate still, so if you put that into the simpler one, put it into 2, because there's less work there. So putting negative 2 instead of x, you're just going to add up these three numbers. You've got a 24, an 18, and a takeaway 23, one more than 18, 19. There's the point. Negative 2, 19. Now, question 12. That'll be the tricky one for quite a few here. So quite a wee demanding question. It shows you a graph of an exponential. You can see it's an exponential because it's rising way up. But you have to draw its inverse, which should be okay as long as you're careful, but there are 3 points there and you'll need to show where they go as well. But the second part, it tells you that the second part gives you the equation in the form of a logarithm, and you have to find those numbers a and b. That could be tricky. So there's that exponential shooting off to infinity, never get lower than -4, and you've got 3 points on it. Now the inverse takes the answer y and tells you the number x you put in as an input, so they switch places, so that the y-axis becomes the x and the x becomes the y. So they switch places like this to produce the inverse graph. So there's the inverse graph of f. So they've switched over, they've switched places, so they must be symmetrical about y equals x. So these points must be symmetrical as well. Switch them around. 0, -3 will be -3, 0. 1, -1 will go to -1, 1. And 2, 5 will go to 5, 2. Now you have to put those 3 points in. And that line y equals -4 would reflect to x equals -4. So those are boundary lines to these curves. In the second part, it gives you the form of the equation of that inverse. It tells you it's log base a of x plus b. But that's an equation, it's a connection between the x and y coordinates. You've got 3 points on that curve, and the y coordinate is given by the inverse function. So pick a point, -3, 0. So 0 is the y coordinate, so you could put that in. That'll be log base a of, now x is -3, so instead of -3 plus b, put b minus 3. Now the log of 1 is 0, so that b minus 3 must be 1. So b will be 4. Now pick another point, -1, 1. The y coordinate's 1. So 1 will be log base a of, now x is -1, but you already know what b is, so that you're going to have -1 plus 4, which comes to 3. So you've got 1 is equal to log base a of 3. And if the logarithm comes to 1, those two numbers must be the same. A must be 3, because 3 to the power 1 gives 3. So you can imagine that then if you just remember to put in coordinates, and then that the log of 1 is 0, and log base something of itself is 1. Now in part 2, ask for the domain. That means what are the values of x you can put in. Now that original graph couldn't get lower than -4, it couldn't even touch it. So that one can't get behind -4, and neither can it touch -4. So the domain is simply x has to be more than -4, because it can't reach it and it can't go behind it, where it can be any real number. And that's it all done now.